She sat alone at the restaurant table, her fingers nervously tracing the rim of her glass, eyes darting to the door every few seconds. A soft candle flickered before her, its flame dancing with every breath of disappointment that escaped her lips. People around laughed, clinked glasses, whispered promises over dinner. But for her, the world was silent, and cruelly so. She had waited for an hour, dressed in her soft blue dress, her hair curled just like she saw in magazines. Her heart fluttered each time the door opened. But he never came. Not until much later, and not how she hoped. What happened next would change her life forever. All because of a stranger sitting 2 tables away, a single dad who noticed her pain when no one else did. She had met him online, Daniel. At least, that's what his profile said. They had chatted through text for months, his words warm and funny, his pictures full of charisma. She had told him from the start that she was deaf, that she read lips and signed, that conversations were harder for her in person. He had said it didn't matter, that what he liked was her smile, her kindness. So when he suggested a dinner date, she was terrified but hopeful. Hope, that dangerous, beautiful thing, made her believe she could finally belong somewhere, to someone. She picked a small Italian restaurant, soft lights, quiet atmosphere. Perfect for someone who couldn't hear, but wanted to feel the world anyway. She arrived early, ordered water, checked her phone again and again. The waiter asked if she was ready to order. She smiled politely and gestured she was waiting for someone. Minutes turned to an hour. Then the door opened. Daniel walked in, tall, confident, phone in hand. Relief washed over her face. She waved, shy but glowing. He walked closer, saw her, and his smile faded. He said something. Words she couldn't catch, but his expression said everything. She tried to sign hey, her fingers trembling. He frowned, looked around, embarrassed. The waiter came to lead him to the table, but he shook his head. His lips formed words she barely needed to read to understand. "I didn't know you were really deaf," he said, tone dripping with discomfort. "I thought it was just like a joke. I can't do this." And just like that, he turned around. The entire restaurant blurred. Her eyes burned as she tried to smile, as if to say she understood, as if to make it easier for him. But the pain was too heavy. Her throat tightened, tears welled up, and she lowered her gaze to her lap. The waiter looked sorry for her, but no one moved. The world kept eating, laughing, living. Except one man. 2 tables away. A man in his late 30s sat with his little girl, no older than 7. They had just finished their pasta, and she was drawing on a napkin. The man, tall, rugged, wearing a simple jacket, had been watching quietly. He'd seen everything. He saw the rejection, the heartbreak, the forced composure. He leaned closer to his daughter and whispered something. The little girl looked at him, then at the sad woman, and said softly, "Daddy, she's crying." He nodded. He knew that kind of pain, the pain of being invisible. Then, something happened that made the girl's eyes widen. Her father put down his fork, turned slightly toward the lonely woman, and raised his hands. Slowly, carefully, he began to sign. "You deserve better." The girl watched in awe as her dad's hands moved gracefully. Words formed in the silent air like magic. The woman froze, blinking through her tears. Her lips parted in disbelief. She looked around, unsure if he was really speaking to her. Then she saw it, his eyes. Warm, gentle, full of understanding. She signed back timidly. "You know sign language." He nodded. "My wife was deaf," he replied with his hands. "She passed away 3 years ago." Something inside her broke, and healed at the same time. They smiled. The first genuine smile she'd felt that night. The man called the waiter and ordered dessert for 3. He gestured to her, an invitation, not pity. She hesitated, but his daughter waved excitedly, patting the empty chair beside her. For the first time all night, she stood up. She sat with them. The silence was no longer lonely. Chapter 2 The dessert came. Chocolate lava cake, the little girl's favorite. The woman's name was Mia, and she laughed softly as the child got chocolate on her nose. The man, whose name was Ethan, couldn't take his eyes off her. Not in a way that made her uncomfortable, but in that rare way someone looks when they see something precious and fragile, and want to protect it. They began to talk with their hands. Ethan wasn't perfect in sign, but his daughter helped fill the gaps. He explained how he had learned for his late wife, how he'd struggled at first, mixing words, making mistakes, but she always laughed it off. Love needs no sound, he signed. Mia felt tears rise again, but this time they were warm, soft tears of connection. For the first time, someone wasn't afraid of her silence. They filled it with kindness. As the night grew, laughter bloomed quietly at that small table. The waiter glanced at them, smiling, as if even he could feel something special in the air. When it was time to leave, Ethan paid for all 3 meals despite her protest. Outside, the cool night breeze brushed against them. She wrote her number on a napkin, hesitant, hopeful. If you ever want to talk again, she signed awkwardly. He smiled, taking the napkin gently. Maya, he signed, don't ever let anyone make you feel less because you're different. You are perfect just the way you are. The little girl tugged her father's sleeve. Daddy, she signed clumsily, can we see her again? Ethan looked at Maya. I hope so, he said. She smiled through tears. Me too. They parted ways under the soft glow of the streetlights. She watched as he held his daughter's hand, laughing, both of them signing jokes to each other. For the first time in years, she didn't feel broken. She felt seen. Weeks passed. Text messages turned into coffee meetups. Coffee meetups turned into long walks at the park, where Ethan's daughter would run ahead, giggling, while they talked with their hands. Slowly, life found rhythm again. One where silence was no longer emptiness but peace. One evening, as the sun dipped low, they sat by the lake. Ethan reached for her hand, looked into her eyes, and signed, that night, I was supposed to propose to someone else years ago. But I never did. I think I was waiting for you. Her lips trembled. She signed back, I was waiting for someone who could hear me without words. He smiled, pulling her closer, the world fading around them. The silence spoke everything they needed. And as the camera would fade out on YouTube, his daughter's voice would narrate softly. My daddy once said love doesn't need sound. He was right. Sometimes the loudest love lives in silence. A story of rejection that turned into destiny, of a deaf girl who thought she was unworthy, and a single dad who showed her she always deserved better.